Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger Show. It is a great day to be alive. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. This is where we look beyond the old diet and exercise solutions and quote solutions, of course, and address what's really driving us to the refrigerator time and time again. If you are tired of the dieting roller coaster ride, well, you're in the right place. And be sure to join us in the Facebook group called The Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating. Don't you want to know what the secret sauce is? Well, join us on Facebook. That's where we talk about it. And that's also where you can get support and community and conversation around dealing with the real issues underlying our food and weight struggles. Let's get real. And we do that in the Secret Sauce group. So please join us there. You'll get the latest tips and support on how you can heal your relationship with food. Also, my TEDx talk is out. You've heard me talk about it maybe a few times if you've heard other shows, but I just keep wanting to talk about it because it was really hard and it came out pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but it gets the point across. And so I would love for you to check it out. You go to YouTube and type in TEDx Tricia Nelson, and you can watch my talk. It's a 14-minute talk, but it really, you'll hear me address what's really going on. Okay. The title of the talk is Emotional Eating. What if weight loss isn't about the food? So thank you in advance for liking it, commenting, leave a comment, and also share it with your friends. Share it on Facebook. I would be so grateful. Okay, so this episode is part of a special podcast series called Snapshots of Freedom from Emotional Eating. This is an 8-episode series that will give you a short but intimate peek into the minds and hearts of courageous people that have stepped off the diet track and are now on a journey to heal the underlying causes of their emotional eating. I'm hoping that you'll be inspired by this informal talk with one of my many awesome Heal Your Hunger clients. And stick around to the end because in each episode, I share Tricia's take, providing a summary as well as valuable tips that you can use to heal your own relationship with food. So welcome, Gwen. So happy to have you to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you. And I know this is kind of like off your map here to be on my show and to share your story. And I really appreciate your doing that. And of course, I don't force any of my clients to come share their stories on the show, but you had to work through a little bit of stuff because it started out in my program very quiet and I didn't, hear a lot from you, but my goodness, after some time, you've really come on a journey and you've blossomed.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I'd love to hear from you, Gwen, a little bit about what your relationship with food was like. What was, can you just describe it and what was so hard about it?
So my relationship with food, I was a roller coaster dieter. About every other year, I would lose the weight. I would do really good. I could follow the program, but I could never maintain it for more than 6 months to a year. And I couldn't figure out why. It's like I followed the program. I should be able to maintain this. So I tried every different diet program because I thought that was the answer. I went from Weight Watchers to Diet Workshop to Nutrisystems. I did Bright Line Eating, but nothing seemed to stick. I would always lose the weight and be so excited. I'm like, this is the answer. And then I would gain it all back.
Yeah. And what would you say was your roller coaster ride in terms of the span of weight that you would gain and lose?
So I spanned up to about 45 pounds.
Okay.
What weight I feel really good at.
Okay. So when you lose 45 pounds, that was your sweet spot that you always felt good at that weight.
Yes.
Got it.
Happy to say I'm here right now after being in this program for a year and a half.
Oh, you look fantastic. You really do. And it's you look healthy and strong. Your body's strong. And I'm so glad you're at a weight you feel really comfortable. So when you would, fall off, would you notice that you fell off or would it creep up on you?
Well, I would fall off and I'd say, I'm going to get back on. So the last time I fell off, I was at my mother-in-law's house and it was Thanksgiving. And there was a bag of these little Hershey chocolates out. I thought, I'll have just one. One turned into 2 to 3 to probably I ate over half the bag. I felt kind of bad because my nephew was also eating them like I was hogging them. I was trying to hide it and be real secretive about it. And that was in Thanksgiving. And then I went through that whole next year and slowly gained back almost all of my weight until right before Christmas. And it's like I couldn't stop. It's like the food was in control of me. And in the past, when I've stopped and been able to go on a diet, I have to get so frustrated and so upset and feel so bloated and so disconnected that I would just like, I'm doing this. I would take all the willpower I can muster and I would do it. But then after a year, it just started to creep back. And this just kept creeping over time. And I just couldn't stop. I kept grabbing the sweets and I'd stop for like 2 days and I'd be right back on them. And I couldn't figure out why. It's like, I'm almost 60 years old. I should have had this figured out by now. So it was really frustrating.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you're in the health profession too. So I would imagine that would make it add a whole nother twist to it.
Yes, I know what to eat. I know what's healthy, what's not healthy. I know a lot of the foods that work for me and don't work for me. And yet having that knowledge, I could not put it into practice. And I saw that with a lot of patients too. You give them a diet, say, fuck this. 3 weeks later, they disappear. It's like, why did they disappear? This worked for me. It should work for them. But there was a deeper underlying issue that wasn't being addressed that I wasn't even aware of.
Exactly. Yes. What pushed you or what kind of got you interested in taking a different route and joining Heal Your Hunger?
I was sharing with you about the Thanksgiving that I started eating the chocolate. So that was Thanksgiving and it came around to December. And I actually saw you speak at a seminar I was taking. And I was to the point where I was bloated, foggy, not motivated, somewhat depressed. I was 10 pounds away from my top weight and I didn't know how to stop it. I was just so frustrated and so angry with myself when I was beating myself up and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And of course, I'm out there doing it all by myself with no help. So I saw you and something in my heart just told me to give you a call and have a introduction call. And at that point, I just knew I wanted to do it. I just needed to do something. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I saw that there was some hope, something maybe a little different that would help me.
Beautiful. And so what has been different?
So, of course, when I registered for your course, I thought it'd be another thing on how to eat, like what I should eat and that type thing. And we would figure out something that would work. Well, I was quite surprised. And I've heard this before in my life. Meditate, pray, spiritual reading, all of these self-care practices and taking care of myself. And I pretty much neglected myself most of my life. And I thought, how is this going to work? This didn't even make any sense to me. And I thought, I have to give it a shot because the eating part was not working. So I jumped in with both feet and started little by little adding those into my lifestyle. And now I have a morning routine that I do with all of the practices that you teach.
Beautiful. And you've been really amazingly faithful and showing up for calls that we have together. Will you talk a little bit about how the community has supported you?
So I never ever thought a community would be so special. Like Tricia said at the beginning, I tend to hide out. I didn't like to talk. I like to stay to myself. I don't want myself to be exposed. I like hiding out. My dad kind of hid out and I took after him, and I like to hide out. I just don't want people to criticize me or see who I really am. And I don't think, down to my core, I really didn't think I was a good person. So I really just wanted to hide that from people. I didn't want them to know that. And I forget the question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about sort of how the community has felt supportive to you.
So there's me kind of hiding out. So the community, there is so much love and compassion. People listen and they actually get me. That was the whole thing. I'm out here doing it by myself with really no one to talk to. And the community, it's like, I'll say something and they're like, well, me too. That happened to me, or I feel that way. And that was the amazing part. I've been seeking and looking for my tribe for many, many years. And I have found it with this community. It's one of the most loving, generous communities that I have ever been involved with.
Sweet. I love that. And how, you talked about starting to practice self-care, which ostensibly seems to have nothing to do with what we eat. But how has that self-care, first of all, first part of the question is, how hard was it? You're a busy, health practitioner. How hard was it to start having, finding time for self-care and feeling worthy of that self-care? And then the second part of the question is, what has it done for you?
I started the self-care, actually, it was overwhelming at first. I started with one thing that I could do. I did that for a few days, then I added the next thing. Then I did the next thing until I did everything in the morning, and then I have the meditation in the afternoon. It worked really well on my schedule. I just got up earlier and was able to incorporate it all. And if I miss that now in the morning, my day just doesn't seem like it goes right. I feel more at peace. I feel more focused. In the morning, I feel closer to God. I inspire myself with what I do, and all of I have some I am statements that I do in my walk, pray. It is really amazing the difference it's made. And in a million years, if you would have told me that would have made that difference, I would have said, nope, I don't think so. But it really has. And it's also made a huge difference in the amount of food I eat. I follow what Tricia teaches us is 3-meal magic. I eat 3 meals a day with nothing in between. And it's easy when I meditate and go through my self-care practices. It's a lot easier to follow that. So food really becomes more of a non-issue. I don't focus so much on it like I did before. I don't make little side trips to the grocery store to get my candy bar, to get my Cheetos or whatever. I don't do that anymore.
Beautiful. So you're not dieting?
No, I am not.
Love it. How does it feel to not be on the diet roller coaster ride anymore?
It has given me so much freedom. I'm relieved. I am so much happier. It makes life less complicated, especially when I was so focused on food and worried about food. I can occupy my thoughts with other things that are much more productive than food.
I love that. And as you have more freedom, as you're no longer obsessed with food, how has that affected your relationships?
With my husband, he actually has told me I seem to be much more happy than I was. I speak up more now. And I tell him my needs, and he's actually very open to listening and trying to help me with those needs. I shared with him the other day, I wanted to do something and I was afraid to tell him because he tends to get really angry really quick. And I was afraid to tell him, and I don't like that anger. So finally, I'm like, I have to tell him because I want to do this particular thing. And I told him, and I said, I'm afraid to tell you this. I was afraid to tell you this because I'm afraid you get really angry. And he apologized. He said, I'm sorry, that's not how I want to be. He says, I want to listen to what you have to say. And it's important that you're able to talk to me without worrying about if I get angry or not. So that was really awesome. In one of the sessions we did, I wrote a letter to him, and that totally shifted our relationship to a lot more, really more intimacy. It's really hard. It's just a really subtle shift in our interaction. It's hard to describe.
It sounds beautiful though, Gwen. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot that was left unsaid and it created distance.
Yes. So I would say we were much less distant. That's a good way to describe it. We are a lot closer now than we were.
That is so beautiful. And he didn't realize how he was coming across to you until you voiced that.
Yes. And how much it upset me when he comes across that way.
Yes.
My family growing up, there was some anger, and I just would go hide. So, and I'm learning how to work with that more and more through the program with all the tools that we are given. So yes, but it's nice when he doesn't get angry, and then I don't have to deal with it quite so much.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that. And because your work life has changed a lot since you joined the program, how has the program sort of informed what you're doing with your life?
I just recently closed our chiropractic practice. My husband's an acupuncturist, and he was in the practice with me. We are moving to Tennessee. And what I would like to do is transition to more of a coaching program where I work with emotional eaters. I work with people with nutrition, lifestyle, how to live their life to a greater potential. So I never would have gone that direction had I not gotten a lot of the tools in this program. And I need to be able to speak up, be more confident. All those things are pulled together. And as a matter of fact, I'm surprised at how comfortable I am feeling talking in this podcast, because a year and a half ago, it would not have been like this at all. I would have been nervous. My lip would have been stuttering. And right now I actually feel pretty relaxed.
So beautiful. Yeah, you're coming across great. It's great to hear you. You're very clear in how you're expressing yourself. And I love I just remember, it's like, where's Gwen? Like, you'd see you on the Zoom, but you never said a word unless I called on you and you kind of had to, but as you said, as little as possible. And now you participate and contribute. And it is really such a beautiful thing to see you coming out of your shell like that, Gwen.
Thank you. And I feel like when I started, my heart was really closed. And I feel like with the work I've been doing, it's just starting to open up little by little. And just in the last week, I think it's made a huge leap. And I'm in a whole different place. And I just want to share that joy and that love with everyone.
That is so beautiful, sweetheart. You have it's coming from inside of you. You have it for yourself, and it's spilling over, and you're starting to share that with other people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Beautiful. Are there any things that you feel like surprised you about this journey? I mean, you talked about you thinking it was going to be another diet. I was going to tell you what to eat. So any other observations about this journey, or witnessing other people's journey? Because we do everything, in most everything in that group setting. Is there anything that has surprised you that maybe somebody who's hasn't, been on this journey or has preconceptions might be interested to hear?
Well, the biggest thing is it's not an eating journey, it's a living journey. That was a
Mm.
huge thing because I was one of the people that wanted to look at the scale every morning and what weight am I and what did I eat and how much did I eat and all of that. It really isn't anything about that at all. It's a living program. It's about going inside and learning who you are and unraveling all of those resentments, all of those negative thoughts, unraveling all of that, healing that so that more of the love can show through. That really surprised me. And the other thing that surprised me was the way to get there are the self-care practices, meditation, spiritual reading, prayer, journaling. The journaling has been really big. In the last thing, the walk, pray, which it took me a while to figure that one out, but now I love it. I do affirmations during it and just have the greatest time doing it. And it just inspires me every day.
I love that. Share a little bit about what that is for those who have never heard that before.
So this is my version of walk, pray. Everyone kind of creates their own version, and there's a lot of flexibility in the program. It's not like there's any hard and fast rules, which is awesome. So you get to be you in creating it. So the walk, pray, essentially I either walk outside, and when it's been cold, I walk in big circles around my basement and I say my affirmations out loud. I have several affirmations, one I created just for me, myself, and then I have other affirmations that I've run across that I just love and they resonate with me. So I'll repeat those. And then at the end of it, I do what I call a free form prayer. So I look into my heart and pray with whatever's on my heart for the day. And it could be anything that comes to mind, and that's what I do. And I just get so inspired by that. And if I miss that during the day, it really changes my day. My day doesn't seem like it goes as well.
Yes, mine either. Boy, that fuels me as well. Has your sense of spirituality changed from the beginning of the program?
So I have always believed in a higher power. However, the higher power was kind of out there somewhere, and I kind of forgotten about my higher power. So in the program, I have reconnected with my higher power, of course, through prayer, spiritual reading, meditation. And I feel more connected and closer, and I feel more at peace with that connection. And there's always room to do even more work on that. But I feel like that's an important part of my day, and I do pray throughout the day and I ask for help. And when I do that, things just seem to go easier. And I was not doing any of this before this program. I just really had no spiritual consistent practice, and that has made a big difference.
That is so beautiful. And yeah, when we're higher powered, we don't need to try to summon up willpower.
Yes, that's another big part of what surprised me. I'm so used to the willpower thing, and the willpower thing doesn't get you very far. It being powered up by the higher power, by spirit or God, that is really where the juice is.
You bet. You bet. Oh, Gwen, it's so good to hear you and see you and witness your, amazing transformation. So thank you so much for sharing about that and being so open and willing to share with people on the podcast. That takes a lot of courage. And I just really want to thank you for that. I know it's going to inspire somebody and help somebody take that next step, towards self-care, towards deepening their spirituality. And hopefully also, if they feel inspired, reaching out for support on their journey with food. So thank you for sharing. It's been so lovely to hear you.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're awesome. And you've done awesome. Congratulations. I bet you're glad this is over.
Well, it's actually, I'm kind of like, well, let's keep going. This is kind of fun.
Well, all right. I love that. Look at that.
Did you see my interview from
No, I didn't see it.
You'll see a day and night difference.
Oh my God, that's so cute. Well, do you have any words of wisdom for people who are kind of out there doing what you were doing, trying to do it on their own?
My words of wisdom, the dog, no. My words of wisdom for people doing it out there on their own, don't do it on your own, because it quite honestly, it doesn't work. I tried that for over 40 years, and it's so much better with the community, with the tools that Tricia teaches us, with the 3 meal magic. It just makes things so much simpler, but at the same time, it does take diligence and commitment to actually do the program. If you don't do the program, you won't get all the benefits. It all ties together in one big package, and it is a day-to-day type of practice. It's not something that emotional eating, it's not something that goes away. It's something it's a condition we always have, and it's just part of our journey as emotional eaters for us to learn and grow.
I love that. That's so beautiful, and so much easier when you're doing it alongside other women.
Absolutely. And the other piece, I never felt like I belonged anywhere. And I have connected with a lot of these women on a very deep level. I never ever thought that I would have anything like that in my life. It is so beautiful. And I've been seeking that all my life, and I've actually found it here. It's a very beautiful thing.
So sweet. Oh, bless you for opening your heart and letting us love you, sweetie. Yeah. That's what we're really hungry for, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not food we're craving. We're craving that connection.
Love and connection. Absolutely.
You bet. Aw, thanks so much for being here, Gwen. You're really such a beautiful soul. I'm so glad we've connected and that you are part of the program.
Thank you. I'm glad I found you. Well, I think Divine was very helpful in finding me. So.
Yes, no question about it. Nobody comes to the Heal Your Hunger family, but by divine appointment. It's really an amazing thing. It seems like people's souls have to be ready, to get off the diet track and onto a deeper journey. Awesome. Well, you're awesome. Your doggies are ready to go play with you. So I'll let you go.
As they haven't had any attention all day. So
all right.
For that attention.
All right. Go give them some love. And thanks for being on the show. Sending you much love.
Thank you. Mwah.
Thanks, sweetie. Okay. Here's my take. A year ago, this interview would never have happened. As you heard in Gwen's story, she was a wallflower. She didn't want to be seen. She didn't want to be heard. She wanted to stay in the background as much as possible. So her saying yes to this interview at all is pretty amazing and definitely indicative of her progress and her recovery from emotional eating. Now, many of you have... Now, I'm somebody who never had trouble getting on stage and blabbing my mouth. But you may not feel that way. You may be somebody who is hiding with food, hiding with excess weight, baggy pants, wearing black, not speaking up, not wanting to draw attention to yourself. And I understand part of that comes when you don't feel good about how you look or how you feel in your body. But it goes much further than that. Oftentimes, that need to hide out runs much deeper, and it comes from a place of shame. You see, as emotional eaters, oftentimes in our backgrounds, we have things that have happened to us that we're deeply ashamed of, and that instilled a sense of shame in us. We weren't given positive messages. We weren't reinforced and encouraged to step out and be who we're meant to be. I know for myself, I fundamentally believed I was stupid, I was bad, and I was ugly. So even though I had an outgoing personality, I also carried a deep sense of shame, and that shame fueled my overeating. But the beautiful thing about getting off the diet track and facing ourselves and those untrue beliefs about ourselves is that we can transform our lives to where we see the beauty in ourselves, to where we dare step out, where we dare express our needs and concerns, and where we're willing to be seen. It's such a beautiful journey, and it has very little to do with what we actually look like. You know, that shame runs incredibly deep. And when we heal at that deeper level, it has a ripple effect through every area of our lives. Brené Brown said, "We cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known, and when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering with trust, respect, kindness, and affection." And to me, that sums up the journey that Gwen has been on in Heal Your Hunger, the journey of allowing herself to be loved, the journey of exploring who she is and starting to trust that who she is enough. She doesn't have to apologize. She doesn't need to hide. She can truly accept who she is and be that, step out into the light and enjoy who she really is and the love that she has to give. So my question to you is, where are you hiding? Are you using food and excess weight to hold back, to hide, to stand in the shadows? You can have a beautiful transformation like you've heard from Gwen. Please reach out to Heal Your Hunger. We're here for you. We'd love to connect and help you on your road to healing and to shining your light in the greatest way possible.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.